Good early afternoon, everyone. 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I wanted to do an update, get some more information out here as my son's in his food therapy right now for the next about 55 minutes still. Started at 12. But I wanted to take a look at the XRP chart. I wanted to take a look at any news and notes that we can go around here and see if we can come to some kind of conclusion on where we look like we're going. We're trending in the right direction. It looks like we put in a nice little bottom. Like we talked about in the earlier update, it looked like Bitcoin filled that CME gap, and it went from like 74K up to about, give or take, 76,600 or so. And believe it or not, we came down to 76,570 or 80. So to me, we very well could have double bottomed there. And then this big wick exhaustion here is beautiful because it creates a short-term inverse right shoulder. And now even if bearish, it looks like it's going to try to come back up here towards that 85K area. And that's where you need to be above. But that's what it looks like it's trying to play out of here. So we'll see what this ends up doing. Obviously, that's in the past now. But we could look at it as like some kind of channel here that is formed here. A little bit of a falling channel, which is kind of interesting when you look at it in this regard, because it hasn't necessarily come down a fourth time, but it's kind of stuck like that. So get to the top side of 85,294. We could start cooking here. But obviously, we have to get to the top side of that. So we'll see how this plays out. Could have been much worse after the dump down here to 76,590 something, 579. So it could have been much worse. Let me put this right here because that was where it touched. But that could have been much worse. I love the wick exhaustion across the market, at least when the morning started, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody in our audience. But we know these things happen. They happen. So I like the wick exhaustion. At least it clears out some of that over leverage or some of the ones that might have been, getting a little overzealous before the little correction. So between that and XRP going down, to a dollar, what was that? Ended up down to $1.89. We've had a healthy pullback up, coming up and topping out around 216, dropping all the way back to 205. And I think that's a way to clear out the longs, especially the short-term longs, ones waking up in the USA. And now that's what you want to see before a further move up. We very well could have bottomed here, and I hope we did. We came down to the bottom of that channel, which is still the neckline support, believe it or not, because the actual inverse head is all the way down here at $1.75. So we did not invalidate that structure. We actually validated it by coming down there, and if we hold it, this is going to be a spectacular reversal. Now, is it going to happen or not? That's the question that nobody can answer until it's ready to be answered. But $2.48 over the top is a big resistance, but we have to break past that 220.5 to reclaim that bullish momentum. That was a very big pivot point. Once we lost it, we dropped all the way down to $1.89. Once we regain it, we'll pop up all the way back to 250 almost and try to retest these upper boundaries. Well, actually, 233 would somewhere around, let's go into real time, push it over here. So $2.31. So you have $2.20.5, 231.2, and then up to 248. Those are your next three resistance that are in the ever-evolving scape. Now we could look at the over-the-top bearish FEGs and all this other, things that are relevant. But for this discussion, is not, it's not relevant because we're moving it based on a day-to-day structure. So this is just where it's set up, and the apex moment is out here on March 23rd. Yeah, March 23rd, a Sunday, of course. And that's where technically, if this is a symmetrical triangle and it were to break down, which technically symmetrical triangles can be bearish consolidations. But it'll be tricky for sure because we formed what looks like some kind of a channel here as well. We know we're in a wider channel, but it's going to be a very nervous moment here for anybody, especially if you bought it way up here. And especially at plus $3. This is where it becomes a big struggle. If you bought it at 30 cents, you took profit along the way, it was plus $3, and you said, hey, I'm 10x, I'm taking something, then you're not feeling so bad. You know, if you prescribe the philosophy that I do, that you buy twice as much as you want, assuming that you can and you have the means. So then when you get into a moment like when we were up 10x on XRP, we were able to sell out during that rally and still have our investment that we wanted from the beginning. Some people will say, well, I can't believe you would sell out. It's like, listen, back in late December, early January, I sold out 70% of my crypto that I actually had. And I've built into some that ended up hitting new lows again. But like for XRP, having 20,000 tokens roughly, and then getting rid of 10, like I don't look at that as a bad thing. I have more than 11,000 still, but this is an example. I base what I do on 10,000, but when it went down to 38 cents, we bought an extra 5,000 worth. So there was a lot more XRP through the even if you want to do an XRP Bitcoin pairing or however you want to do, how you wanted to approach it. But I had a lot of extra XRP I didn't even intend on having. But when it gave me a second chance, again, under 40 cents mid last year, it was like, how can you pass it up? So I did the philosophy of I'm up all this money. I'm redoing my house. I'm securing these profits while still being heavily in the market because of timing. You know, you can't do the same thing I did unless you bought the bear market and just waited for it to happen. And then sold the bull market in 21 to get into the bear market at the lows in 22 and 3 to sell out at the top in 24 and 5, but still be able to have another running portfolio. Like, I think that's the biggest trick of the trade. So a lot of people will try to tell you you're a loser if you sell out or you're not going to make real money. I'm going to tell you right now, you can never lose if you're making profits. The ones who are telling you all of that are the part of the 95% club that doesn't make money in investing. It's such a scary proposition when you think about it that only about 5% of us who invest make money. That means out of my 31,400 people in my audience, and it's scary to think, but about 1,550 people in my audience are going to make profit trading out of 31,400. Isn't that kind of scary when you think about it? So out of 31,400 plus people, only about 1,550 will make profit. And in the general terms, now maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, depending on who you're watching. But that's just the average consensus. And I've unfortunately seen both sides of it. I see in my very audience still, despite me pushing the message every day, never sell on the knife, even if it looks terrible. Look, we dropped from up here at $2.64 down to $2.33. Down here, some didn't sell. They watched it come back up to $2.20. And then even down here, watch it come all the way back up. But what I'm saying is, like yesterday, it comes down on that knife all the way down to 189. Instead of selling it there when it's too late. When it's already falling like that, it's too late to sell. You're just selling you're basically pushing yourself in your own grave. Now just waiting and letting all that go out, at least, even if you look at it now at 212, at least you're going out on your own terms and saying, at least I'm up 11% today. And I got 11% back. And I still wouldn't necessarily sell it here. I mean, this says an exhaustion, but then again, you can do whatever you got to do because the problem is here, we're doing exactly what we talked about in December when I got ridiculed, which is a good thing. I like to see the ridicule. I like to see the grace because then you see where people are at. I don't judge anybody. Some people want to be a certain way and some are a different way. But my whole thing was we took the elevator up. You take the stairs down if that's the way it goes, like stairs. We're starting to do it now. Now, if we lose this broadening wedge, it's over. I said this before. If that broadening wedge ever gives way, this is over. We're going back to new bear market lows. And the problem is we already said, in a sense, if we lost that, there was a while ago, if we lost, that it was going to make it a devastating drop, and then it did. In fact, we came down all the way to like $1. The only thing we did bad here, when we came down to $1.79, is we did not come down to $1.50, that FVG. That's the only thing we did wrong. And I wish we would have come down there, because to me, it's still there. Right now, though, it's been so depleted. It's so beaten up. This is kind of we'll go into news and notes later because this is already dragging on. Especially as long as I can get a live out tonight, I will. Yesterday, I couldn't. I felt bad. There's a guy there. I don't know if he's got like visitation with his kids or something, but I've seen him there a few times since I've been staying at the hotel. And they always have dinner downstairs. I never see him with anybody else during the day or anything. But he had his kids there, so I felt bad. I didn't want to interrupt by sitting in that area and doing an hour live, so I wanted to be respectful. They were having dinner, and I didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it. So I apologize for anybody who didn't get to see the live yesterday because there was not one. But sometimes, we're still human. So now this is what I find crazy. We went from 20 to 24. I really wish we would have had another drop down, but extreme fear is not a recipe to sell. Like, these are when you want to, you know, pick up. And now the optics here is left shoulder, head, right shoulder, you know, so we have to obviously watch that. So just pay attention to the levels I talked about. Don't get too caught up in anything else. Right now, that $2 and let's see what it is in real time. Because now you could technically drop back to 205, even 202. So yeah, now we need to make sure if this is coming through that at least at worst case scenario, we hold 202 or 203, I should say. We hold at 202, we'll say. So as long as 202 holds, we still have this little consolidation at the top end is at 231. So as long as you don't hold or lose 203, you would be pushing up to 231 in a matter of, you know, not too long. Once you lose 231, it gets dicey. I mean, 203 gets very dicey because you don't really have a lot to hold on to here. And $1.93 is underneath that. And then underneath that, I mean, you have the monthly FEG that we were able to not come through at $1.82, which we already filled that, so that's not a big deal. But that's just a support structure. So yeah, we're bouncing around here and we're a little choppy. So that's where we're at. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I appreciate all of you. Other than that, I'll catch you later. I got to go make sure my son's doing good. Have a blessed day, everybody. It's been